it's Zarin Hobson with Red Hook Guitar, and today I'm going to talk about playing all 5 patterns of the pentatonic scale. I'm going to do this in A, because it's an easy key to play in for guitar players, and it's also a very common one. So I'm just going to I'm going to tell you all the patterns note-wise, fret-wise. We're going to pay attention to the fingerings and the technique, alternating your picking with your right hand. So we're going to talk about some of the proper techniques and ways to play the scale. Most guitar players, they just play pattern 1. They learn pattern 1, and it's a really easy symmetrical pattern to memorize, to learn, and it's really easy to move it around to different keys and play it in different areas. But if you really want like a lot of range, if you want to be really high, and be in between, play really high and then play really low and play everything in between and get a really good melodic dynamic range and really know your fretboard, then this is the lesson for you. So by now everyone should know pattern 1. It's like the most symmetrical, the easiest to memorize, and from there we're going to learn pattern 2, which connects where that one left off. Then we're going to learn pattern 3. So there are all these little box shapes. Pattern 4. And I'm doing all these in A, but you can do these in any key. Pattern 5, you can keep going in the higher octave up here. And then you can even keep going if you have more fretboard space to pattern 1, pattern 2. They just keep repeating in the same order. You can also play pattern 4 in an open position down here. And then pattern 5, you can play an octave lower down here. So they're always in the same order. Pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern 4, pattern 5, back to pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So anyway, we're going to start. I'm going to kind of dissect these, and if I'm moving too quickly and you're not sure how I'm playing a certain pattern or the fingerings or whatever, I'm going to have a link in the description to my website where I have all 5 patterns written out in scale diagram form as well as tablature with the fingerings and everything. So we're going to start with pattern 1 in A. So if you notice, I'm on the 5th fret of the top string. So the general rule of fingerings is this: if you're on a note and you go a half step, you want to use your middle finger. If you go a whole step, you want to use your ring finger, and if you go more than that, you can use your pinky to do those bigger stretches. So in the pentatonic scale, when I play this first pattern, I'm going to show you the frets first. So I have 5 to 8, 5 to 7, 5 to 7, 5 to 7, 5 to 8, 5 to 8, and then backwards. So notice with my right hand, I'm doing something called alternate picking. So what that is I'm down picking my first note, up picking my second note, and I do the same on the next. So I was alternating my picking strokes, literally down, up, and then when I come back the other way, I do the opposite direction because I'm going in the opposite direction. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You can practice that just on open strings for a while if putting the two things together is a little bit difficult. So you can separate your right hand and your left hand and get used to that motion. It's just easier. You get more speed in the long run when you alternate your picking. I mean, Vernon Reid from Living Colour, he plays all down picking, and he's a pretty fast player, but he's kind of an exception. Because if you're always down picking, you keep crossing back over, and your hand is kind of going, double time. It's creating a lot more stress on your hand, and you can tire out your hand a little easier, and you won't get as much speed that way. So those are the frets. Now I'm going to tell you the notes. So what you're playing here, you're starting on the root of the scale, which is A. So A, C, D, E, G, A, C, notes in the pentatonic scale are A, C, D, E, G, and then you're back to your octave and it repeats A, C, D, E, G. So your next pattern starts on the second note of the scale, which is C. So here's your C on the 8th fret. So I'm going to show you note fret-wise. 8 to 10, 7 to 10, 7 to 10, 7 to 9, 8 to 10, 8 to 10, and then you go backwards. Alright? Note-wise, that would be C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D. So it's the same notes, you're just starting them in a different order. You're starting them on the C note as opposed to the A note. And there's different variations that people use to finger this, but I personally like to play pentatonic scales mostly with my root and my ring finger. Just the nature of blues and rock, it's really oriented towards these two fingers. You know, I do use my pinky if I stretch a little further. Some people don't. Like if you watch Eric Clapton play, like he plays more with his ring finger and his middle finger like this. To me, that's really awkward because I didn't learn it that way. So I'm just showing you the way that I learned and what's comfortable for me and what's easy for me. So anyway, going further, here's pattern 3. So we're starting on the 3rd note of the scale with pattern 3. That makes sense. So D is the 3rd note of the scale. So fret-wise, you've got D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, and then back. Fret-wise, that would be 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 9, 12, 10, 13, 10, 12. Okay, so that's pattern 3. Pattern 4 starts on the 4th note of the scale, which is E. So you have fret-wise 12, 15, 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 13, 15, 12, 15, and then back. You always want to descend after ascending. Note-wise, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, and then back. So then you can go an octave higher to your, you can play your 5th pattern an octave higher or an octave lower, depending. So if you keep going, I'm up on the 15th fret with pattern 5, and I've got 15, 17, 15, 17, 14, 17, 14, 17, 15, 17, 15, 17. That's another one of the easier scales to kind of memorize and play. Note-wise, that would be G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A. Now you can keep going and you can play your pattern 1 again up here on the 17th fret if you want to. So then I've run out of next space there. You may have more frets than I. And you can keep going. So then you can also play your pattern 4, since it starts on E, off of the open E, which is a lot of fun. So you have fret-wise 0, 3, 0, 3, 0, 2, 0, 2, 1, 3, 0, 3, and then back. Note-wise, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G. So you're just starting on the 4th note of the scale. Starting on the 5th note of the scale here, the G, now you have your 5th pattern an octave lower. So what you have is 3, 5, 3, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, and then back. Note-wise, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A. So it's important to kind of note, like I've circled in the diagrams, like where your root note is, where your A, your starting point is. Because a lot of people, like when they practice their scales, they like to kind of have the sound of the scale in their heads, and you really hear it when you start on the root and end on the root. So for example, so A to A, right? It has the true sound of the scale. If I start on the C, you don't really get the true sound of the scale. But here's my root here on this pattern. hear it come out on pattern 3, find all of your A's. And it's also a good starting point for really learning your notes across the fretboard. That was my first lesson, was talking about the notes across the fretboard. And it applies here. Like, I know, you know, my students always quiz me. They point to a note and they go, do you know what note that is? I say, yeah, that's a G. Do you know what note that is? Yeah, that's a C. Do you know what note that is? And they kind of quiz me. And I do. I know, I can look at the fretboard and I know where every single note is because I've practiced that for a long time. And it takes a long time to do that. But it is recommended, you know, if you're playing your scales, maybe you should be saying your notes as you're playing them so you know what notes you're actually playing. So as far as technique, you really want to do your alternate picking so you get more speed and smoothness in your playing. You really want to use the correct fingerings. You know, don't be afraid to use your pinky. A lot of my students, they always cheat and they try to use their ring finger instead. And I just say, you gotta use your pinky. So anyway, yeah, so I'll leave a link in the description. But practice these. These are all in A. You can do this in any key though. It's always the same patterns in the same order no matter what key you're starting from. So say I want to do these in E. So here's my open E. I can play all the way down in this open position with my first pattern. Then I can go to pattern 2, which starts where that one leaves off. So I've got my pattern 2. Then I've got my pattern 3. Then I've got my pattern 4. Then I've got my pattern 5. Then I've got my pattern 1 again, an octave higher. Then I can go to pattern 2 again. Pattern 3 until I run out of fretboard space. Then I have all this dynamic range. I can be really high, I can be really low, I can be everything in between. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. I've got a series of videos coming out next that are going to talk about different exercises you can play and practice to kind of get away from just ascending the scale and descending the scale and starting to kind of make more melodic phrases and branch out of, you know, the typical ascending and descending the scale kind of thing. Get out of your ruts and routines and get into new ones. All right, hope that was helpful.